Welcome back to the Impact Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Zapata, and I'm excited for you to tune in today and to listen. First of all, I do want to say thank you for the time that you give me and my audience and my guests, my guests on this show, because we are here not for ourselves. There are things that we could be doing today, but we do believe that, we have a purpose that is far greater than ourselves. And we thought that talking together today about my guest's background and what he's doing now would be helpful to you. So if you find this show today helpful and you are excited about what you hear, there's two things that I'm going to ask you to do. One is like and share, take a screenshot of this episode, post it, let me know you like it so that I can produce more like it. And then the other thing is at the end, you're going to get my guest's contact information. Reach out to him, thank him for his time. If you've got a need when it comes to real estate or a referral for the area, obviously I want you to get in touch with him. So today I've got with me Juan Corona. He is local to here in Southern California. He lives in Orange County, just like me. But here's a couple things that you need to know about Juan. He is an entrepreneur, which means he is doing all things real estate. He's a real estate broker. He is a property developer. He has his own escrow company, his own mortgage company, and I'm sure a whole other slew of little parts of the pie in there as he does his business. He's also a family man. He's been married for a long time to his high school sweetheart, and they together have 4 boys, no girls. And so that kept him gives him a very active lifestyle, even now as his boys have grown. And like I said, he does live here in Southern California. And Juan, I just want to say thank you for being a guest on today's show. Welcome to it.
Aaron, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show. And I look forward to this conversation that we're about to have here.
Yeah, so me too, Juan. You and I had some lunch together, and we were able to get to know each other a little bit. And I was just really impressed with your background and what you're doing now. And since we're just getting to know you on the show, Juan, why don't you take us back to what got you interested in real estate? Tell us where that started.
Wow, it started at an early age, I think. Just building homes, real estate was always just, I was attracted to it. Why? I don't really know. And then as I got older, what was really attracting me was the people that I knew that were in real estate.
Mm.
I liked the cars they were driving. I liked the homes they were living in. I loved the vacations they were taking. And that really attracted me. I was like, these guys, what are they doing? I need to do some of that. And
Great.
so that's kind of where the alignment came, with just the desire to be involved with real estate and building homes or anything with home related. And then the
Yeah.
lifestyle that I saw some of my friends, the lifestyle they were having.
So would you say that was like in the college years, or was it even younger than that?
I would say it was younger than that.
Okay.
The individual that helped my parents buy their first home, uh, at back in that time, pulls up in a convertible Corvette, which to me was like, oh my goodness, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Just the way he was dressed. I got to know him a little bit more. Just the house that he had and just the lifestyle that he had was my first exposure. I was pretty young at that time. Um, and that kind of triggered it. And through just growing up in high school, I always knew I wanted to be involved with real estate somehow. I didn't really know how. I just knew that
Hmm.
I wanted to be part of it somehow.
So walk me through those early days. Did you get your real estate license? Did you go work for somebody? Walk me through that.
What's funny is that individual referred me to another friend of his, and just kind of made the I wouldn't say the connect. He knew I was interested. I would come into the office, help him a little bit with some marketing stuff, bits and pieces of his business. But it's funny. I always tell the story. At no moment did he ever try to recruit me. At no
Hmm.
moment did he ever say, "Do you want to do real estate? Do you
Really?
want to do lending?" Um, and when I told him finally after a year, probably, I said, "Look, I really want to do this. What are the steps?" He kind of just brushed me off. I don't know
Mm.
if maybe I was just too young. Maybe he had no interest in helping me. But I always thought it was funny. And I knew a lot of friends in the industry at that time, and I always joke around, and no one ever invited me to be part of it.
Maybe they were afraid of you. They just knew it, and they're like, no, no, keep him out. No, no. Do you think
Yeah,
do you think that perhaps you just gave off that vibe that you're like, I'm kind of serious, but not 100% serious, even though inside you were just like dying for it?
probably,
Yeah.
probably. And so I just kept in school, and uh, my life just took a different career path. It was more on the lending side of stuff.
Okay.
Not mortgage lending. It was just it was a car lending company. At that point, my wife was babysitting for the owners of this one bank, and that's she kind of opened the door for me there, and I had made really good connections, and I ended up being an underwriter for that company.
Okay.
And so that's how I was taken in that path. And since we were still financing cars, I kind of got pushed over to a small little high-end dealership where I was doing financing for them. And that individual that I was working with, doing odd end stuff in real estate, he also owned a dealership.
Hmm.
I connected back with him, and I ended up selling him a lot of cars on the wholesale end of it. And finally, after like 3 years of that, he's like, "Hey, you ever thought about becoming a real estate agent?"
You're like, yeah,
So that's
years
what,
ago.
yeah. So that's when the proposal came, and I think that was a very big turning point in my career.
Mm.
I had been at the bank corporate lifestyle for a very long time. I get recruited over to the dealership side, where usually the path takes you the other way. You go to the dealership, then you go to the bank.
Mhm.
I come over to the dealership, and a very cushy job there. I had a $140,000 salary. I had 401k benefits, car allowance for gas, um, but it was not what I wanted to do. And so
Wow.
when he says, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this before?" And I said, "Absolutely, I do." My wife was actually, I take that back. We had just had our first son.
Okay.
We had about 3 months worth of savings, and I went home and I talked to my wife and I said, "Hey, this guy's offering me this. It's not even a job. He's offering to teach me, coach me, and guide me. We got 3 months worth of reserves. We just bought our house. We have a new baby, and I want to do this." uh, and
And
so
she
that's
says,
how
how
I
much does it pay?
yes.
And you're
And I
like,
said
nothing.
zero. I said zero commission, zero. I'm sorry, zero salary, all commission, no allowance, no 401k. It's all on me.
Wow.
And that's how I got started.
Yeah. And so you're young, first baby, and no reserve really. I mean, you're 3 months, but that goes quick when it comes to real estate. So that was
Very quick.
gone. That was gone. Talk to me about those early days. Was it a struggle for you? Did you hit success right away?
Coming from the bank to the dealership, and just learning about, I always remember having my own like stack of papers of leads or contacts that I had. And all I remember was saying, every time I hit this list, I'm able to come up with something.
Mm,
And my mentor at that time, he taught me about form, family, occupation, recreation, and your message.
mm,
And I just remember saying, as long as I keep doing that, I'm gonna be successful, and I'm gonna learn as I go, and I will rely on the people that know more about real estate than I do, and all I need to do is just make a contact, make a lead, prospect, and just keep doing that.
hmm.
And I really just put my head down, and that's all I was doing.
That's awesome. And so you had this list. You got this list. You just put your head down. And was that, you said form, was that like the nature of your conversation? Focus on these four
Every
things? Yeah.
every single time. I was too dumb to know any better. I that's literally said do this, and that's all I did. And I called, it was usually friends, family, or people that I had worked with. Hey, how's your family? Hey, are you still working here? Are you still running this type of business? How's your business going?
Hmm.
Uh, so family, occupation, recreation. Are you still playing soccer? Are you still playing basketball? Are you still off-roading? Are you still golfing? Whatever what I knew their recreation or their hobby was, kind of talked and related
Mm-hmm.
about that. And I
Mm-hmm.
always finished with the message. And at the beginning, my message was, I came across this great opportunity to get involved with real estate, which is something I've always loved. And that's really what I'm doing. So if you know anybody that might want to buy or sell, please keep me in mind. That was
Awesome.
it.
Very simple. Very
Yes.
simple.
After a couple calls, I would get more aggressive. I said, you know what? I have my newborn son, and I'm tired of giving him powdered milk. I'd love to go buy some regular milk. Do you know
Mm,
anybody that might want to buy or sell? Because I'm really working hard to get some real food in my son's stomach. And I joke around about it, but it broke the ice, and it I was blessed to always get referral business. Always, all my
yeah.
business has always been referral business. Because of that, I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, and you did what a lot of agents are afraid of doing, and that is bringing in their personal need, their personal family, like into the story, right into the message. But you're just honest with them, like, hey, I've got a family to feed, right? I'm doing this professionally. I've got work that needs to produce money so I can take care of my kids and my wife.
Yes,
And that was the urgency, right? It wasn't like, oh, I got a good deal, you got to buy it now. You're like, I need to feed my family now, so please think
yeah,
about it, right?
yes,
Right.
yes, that's correct.
That's great. And so you did that as an agent for some time, and then what was the switch that decided, hey, I think I should get into brokerage, become a broker, and start these other, you know uh, avenues of revenue like escrow and mortgage? Walk me through that.
So I make the jump. I start closing some deals. I didn't know how commissions were paid in our industry. And so getting paid 25% commission for your first couple dozen deals, and talking to friends, I was like, wait a minute, you mean there's people out there getting paid more than 25% commission? So I quickly, I shouldn't say quickly, it took about a year, but I realized that I was leaving a lot of money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by then, I had already made some good friends, and just I always knew that I wanted to own my own business and I wanted to run my own thing. And that's really what motivated me to get my license,
Mm.
um, my broker's license, I should say. But rewind a few years, Aaron. I was always a C student.
Mm.
I really struggled with learning and getting A's, and then I'd be in my parents' home in the closet with a flashlight trying to memorize stuff for school, and
Mm.
I struggled with that a lot.
Wow.
And so my brother was in the living room watching his TV shows with the volume full blast, studying, and he'd come back with straight A's every single
Mm.
semester. And so I hit him up and I said, "Hey, at this point, he's an accountant over at the courthouse." And I said, "Hey, have you ever thought about owning your own business?" And then so I convinced him to go and get his broker's license and passed it the first time around.
Okay.
He started the brokerage, and I was running it, but it was under his license, and that's the way we started. Him and I have been working
Okay.
together ever since.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yes, he got
So,
tired of being the broker of record after a while, and he's like, "Okay, maybe you should go get your license now." And I did,
yeah.
and same thing.
So you
Uh,
finally got it. You took over the broker of record. Uh,
yes,
that's amazing. That's amazing. But that is so key, right? I think what a lot of agents struggle with is figuring out the pivot to get to where they need to go. You thought, man, I'm not really good at test taking. I don't know how I'm going to pass this. I need to find another route to go down, which was your brother, to help you still
yes,
accomplish the goal. And,
yes,
and that's what worked.
yes.
And so you guys worked together. You started your own brokerage firm, and walk me through how that has expanded over the years.
So so we do that. I get the brokerage. We I think at one point had 60 something agents. This was back in '05. My background was lending.
Hmm.
Back then, you did not need to get an MLS license. As a
Right.
broker, you just signed up and you started lending. So I really knew that aspect of it as well. And so we started doing a combination of the two. Um, and then, 2007 hit and there went everything.
2007 hit like a bomb here in Southern California.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah. Juan, I was working for a real estate broker same time. And like you, he decided, we decided, I helped encourage him for this, but to open a mortgage division. And so we had a mortgage company and we were brokering loans and closing the deals at the same time. And you'll understand this, the impact of this. We funded a loan on at about 11:45 a.m. on a Friday with New Century Financial. And I think it was November 4th, 2006 or seven. I can't remember, but it was like, and our rep said, "Hey, congratulations. We funded the loan. We're going to lunch." They came back to lunch and the doors were locked and the place was closed.
yeah,
And that was the first bank to collapse. Remember that?
yes,
So
yes.
here's another like example in your life where you're going down this road and here's a roadblock. It is not happening anymore. Those mortgage companies shut down and you would go from New Century Financial to who else? Vertice, remember? All these other subpar lenders and it was like, "No, we have enough capital to survive." Countrywide gone, you know. Uh and
Yeah,
how did you survive? How did you
yeah.
survive that implosion in our industry?
Every day was how many banks are closing today, right? Every day was somebody new, and it kept getting bigger name, bigger name, bigger name. Yeah, it was interesting times for sure. I remember when it all started, we had a good amount of capital in the bank, and obviously things are changing. We're trying to continue the business going, and I remember interviewing this older gentleman, uh, trying to recruit him to be to come under our real estate brokerage. And he came in for the interview, and right off the bat, he's like, "I'm not here to be hired." He's like, "I just want to know what you're pitching." So I gave him my pitch, and then I said, "Well, why are you not interested in going anywhere?" He's like, "I'm retiring." He goes, "Nobody has any clue what's about to happen here." And this was early on, right? So we're still sitting on a good pile of cash. Our lease is huge. Our expenses are not diminishing. And we went through that capital very quickly,
Hmm.
Aaron. It disappeared quick. And I'll never forget that gentleman because just the wisdom that he had. And he's like, "I've been through too many of these cycles." He goes, "And this is going to be the worst one in anybody's lifetime." I'm naive. I'm young. I didn't believe him. But in retrospect, he was 100% correct.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, so I think one key part of life in general is just having good mentors, right? Having good people around you that are not going to be, they're not going to sugarcoat things for you. And at that time, I had two really good mentors in my life, business owners. One of them was that bank that Canadian, the owner of that bank that I was working for prior to going into the car industry, and he always became a really good mentor. Um, Canadian immigrant, I remember him rushing to get his citizenship before his IPO. They couldn't go IPO because the owners weren't citizens just yet.
Wow.
And so he was a really good mentor, and I had another good mentor. And I remember talking to them because money's depleted. Um, we're struggling. I got a young family at home. I got a big mortgage payment. And his advice, both of their advice was lose everything except your business.
Hmm.
Everything else, just let it go. It's out of your control. But do not lose your business. Keep focusing on your business. And in retrospect, that was the best piece of advice. It hurt. It hurt to lose my cars, my home, you name it. We lost it. And but we kept with our business. I kept plugging away. I kept trying to find that one client that was ready to buy, that one client that was ready to sell, that one client that was wanting to refinance. and it wasn't easy. It was hard. It's a hard business, but it was even
Hmm.
harder at that time
Yeah.
because there wasn't that many people around that still had a job, that were not delinquent in their mortgages, that were not losing their homes.
Right.
And and I just kept going with it. At that time, I really felt like mortgage was going to be a big impact. Like going back to my earlier comment, you didn't need a license back then. And
Hmm.
whose fault was it? Everybody was pointing at
Blame the
banks,
mortgage guys. Yeah.
blame the mortgage guy. So I was, at that time, I talked to my brother and then I said, look, we need to get out of the mortgage business because it's not going to be pretty. And we did. And we just focused on real estate. At that time is when he said, you know what, I really don't want to be the broker of records, take over.
Mm.
And so we reshuffled some stuff at that time and we just focused on real estate. But I did know that if I only relied on real estate, and this ever happened again, I needed to diversify my business if that's what if I really wanted to stay in this business. More importantly, if I
Yeah.
really wanted to feed my family, and that's really what I did. I waited a few years, went back, got my mortgage broker license, started signing up with lenders, hiring loan officers. Um, Real estate never went anywhere. We continued to recruit
Hmm.
real estate agents and grow the real estate agent side of it. We started, obviously 09, my first flip. I think I did in 08. And that's started going with more flipping and
Hmm.
eventually led us to more new developments now. Um, same at the same time, I was like, okay, well, what's the toothpaste of real estate? And for me, it's here in California, it seemed like it was escrow. Everybody needs escrow all the time.
Yeah.
So I inquired about that. I was blessed to meet my now partner at that time, and her and I've been partners since 18. But prior to that, we were working together for a good 15 years, probably. And so the way I saw it, I just needed to diversify into different aspects of business, because I really wanted to control the ecosystem of every transaction.
Sure.
I will never forget when I was representing this one client that was being represented by a bank. I won't say names. Um, and he was so confident in his loan officer. And the loan officer never really wanted to talk to me as this client's agent. Um, Contingencies get removed. Hey, do you know what this means? We go through the whole conversation. Yes, long story short, he removed his contingencies. We're at the closing date and he gets a call from his loan officer to say, I never got you approved or your loan never went anywhere. It's the only deposit I've ever lost in my career.
Wow.
And it really bothered me because the client was played by his loan officer.
Mm.
And to me, when I say my ecosystem, I really try to convey to the agents that, okay, I understand you're not the loan officer, but this is your client and you need to be aware of what's happening with your loan officer, with your lender, with that client's lender. For me,
Yeah.
was more about control. If I can have my clients qualify with our mortgage company, we're in control of the transaction. We will have more protection for our clients. And so really that's what I was trying to build is that
Yeah.
ecosystem for our agents to operate under and our loan officers to operate under as well. You add the development side of it now. Well, if I can also provide them the inventory, yeah, that's a great world in my opinion.
Yeah. What you said is interesting. When we talk about control, the consumers think, oh, that's bad. You're controlling, you're controlling. But the way you're defining it really is creating the opportunity to have clear lines of communication so we are truly aware of every aspect of the process, which allows us to turn buttons and knobs to make sure that the transaction flows smoothly, right?
Yes,
Because if you and I are working with a loan officer that we've never ever talked to, when we don't get a call from the appraiser, and we like, there's these weird things that happen, and you're like, I have no clue what's going on. So therefore, I have no control over my ability to counsel my client.
correct.
But you
Yes,
have created, yeah,
yes, and us
right,
trying to explain that to the client to go back to let to their lender, it's obviously not easily conveyed on the other side.
Right. Hey, you go ask your lender for these four things that they should have asked you for already, because I know, based on my experience, that they're doing a terrible job, but I can't tell you that, like that
Yes.
scenario, right? We want to be, it's so hard to tell your client they made a bad choice when it comes to their third party vendor. So
Yes.
whether,
Yes.
whether that be inspector, lender, escrow company, you name it, we don't get a say in that often.
Correct. Correct.
So
And we try to, at least I try to provide the ecosystem, but
yeah,
obviously every client has the right to go wherever they want.
yeah,
But hopefully we can show enough as to why we're doing it. And most of the time they work with us
yeah.
within our
Well,
system.
and it's you become a one-stop shop. And if your client trusts you in the real estate transaction, then they're likely to trust you in the referral recommendation for escrow and for mortgage, right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
so that's great, Juan. I like how that story was birthed out of the the collapse. You know,
Yeah.
there's that Bible, verse in Proverbs that says, don't entrust everything in one basket. It's basically don't put all your eggs in one basket, but divide them up because you never know which will fail and which will succeed, right? Uh,
Yes.
and so you've done that. You've done that, and here you are, post COVID, leading going into the last 3 years. One, let's just catch up, okay? The last 3 years, COVID was great for every realtor. You didn't even have a chance to put the sign in the yard and the house was sold and it was done. Low interest rates, everybody wanted to move, everybody wanted to buy. Interest rates spike at the end of 2022 and the market just comes to a screeching halt. And statistically, the last 3 years have been the slowest 3 years on record for the last 30 years. We just haven't sold as many homes as we did in the past. I'm just giving that frame of reference for our listeners.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
realtors that got in the last 3 years think, man, this is hard. Man, if you can survive right now, when this thing starts to really crank, you're going to be doing a phenomenal job. So, Juan, tell us what you've done in the last couple of years to survive the slowdown and to continue to have a smile on your face.
So, one thing that I feel we've done a lot more is it's definitely doubled down on more flipping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to flipping, it's not just in the. I say that not from a perspective of just someone that's buying, fixing, and selling. What it's allowed us to do in our ecosystem is create inventory for ourselves, right? So instead of there's been a limited amount of listings, there's been a limited amount of buyers. The overall business has been pretty stagnant. But by us acquiring the inventory, we're kind of providing our own inventory,
Mm-hmm.
and it's allowing our agents to market around that inventory, and that in itself produces more listings and more buyers. So that's been great for opportunities. I'm not saying that our business has skyrocketed because of that, because overall business has been not impressive as far as like huge numbers, but it's definitely kept us busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been able to provide that inventory to ourselves to keep going. And I feel like that's really been a huge impulse in at least within our ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
currently. But
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. If you started this business in these last 3 years, you're like, man, what did I sign up for? This is horrible. Um, but I choose to believe that every day there's still deals closing, there's still transactions happening, and why am I not part of it? And that's what gets me going. I there's a deal closing somewhere, and I got to be part of it somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're competitive, I'm assuming.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
I
You
hate
like to,
losing.
yeah, right. You hate losing, right? But that's that drive, right? That's that drive that says, I am not giving up right now and not tomorrow either, and not the next day either. I'm going to keep coming
Yes,
back to the fight.
100%.
Okay. So, I'm a new realtor. I've got, rose colored glasses on, and I think everything's going to be beautiful. Juan, walk me through. You just told us a story about the guy that lost his deposit because the deal died on the last day of escrow. Walk me through maybe one of the craziest transactions that you've ever been a part of that just kind of blew your mind.
Oh my goodness, there's quite a bit, Aaron.
I know. Just I get just think about one. Just
Wild
tell
in what sense? Wild in what sense? Because
just
I might be the victim of one of my own stories here.
it was just shocking to you. Like, okay, so like I've had people arrested, right? A tenant that was a schizophrenic that thought he owned the community that he lived in. He thought he owned the whole city. He thought he
Wow.
worked for the police department, and so we had to have like the police come up and actually put him in handcuffs and arrest him. Okay, I don't know if you've had to have that for me is a crazy story. Just something that maybe in a transaction that was you're like, oh my word, like I cannot believe this is happening right now.
Well, I'll share my first flip. My
Okay.
first flip gets referred to me by a friend of mine. The guy comes in. He's like, "Look, I'm 4 months delinquent on my mortgage. I just want to sell the property and and get my cash and move on." Okay, I'll buy the property from you. He was allowing me to my mistake or the moral of the story, or not the moral of the story, but the key part of this story is he says, you know what? I'm willing to allow you to take over my note or my mortgage as part of the transaction because you're only going to own it for a very short period of time when you fix it and then you turn around and you sell it and you pay off my mortgage. So I contact my attorney. It's my first flip, and I say, I don't really understand this whole assignment or me taking over his mortgage. Can you help me? Draws up all the documents. We purchase the property. I give him his cash. I excitedly borrow extra money because that's how I'm gonna fix this house. Um, I get it nice and ready. Sells the first weekend. We get into escrow and I'm about to close on I'm about 2 3 days from closing, and I get a call from the escrow officer saying there's a list pendants on your property that just popped up. What do you mean? Here's a copy of the list pendants. I contact my attorney. He contacts the other attorney, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm representing the previous owner of this property, and I'm suing the current owner because my client is a drug addict and he was not in the right state of mind when he sold this property to your now client, current owner. And there's too much equity in this transaction that we're going to fight for it."
Mm.
And needless to say, a few months into me spending more money with my attorney, I ended up having to walk away from that transaction and lose about $145,000 on my first flip.
On your first flip.
On my first flip, of which is not money I have liquid. So now
Yeah, you were
I'm having,
borrowing everything to get this one done.
correct. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a wild first deal for
Yeah.
me. So that was an interesting one.
So I've heard this often, and one, perhaps you've seen this as you've coached and trained young agents. Why is it that more often than not, the first deal is really hard? It's terrible. I see this all the time. What do you say to that?
I say to that, earlier I shared with you about my jumping out of this whole recession, right? And having good mentors.
Hmm.
I think a lot of times, many of our first transactions or first opportunities or first of whatever sometimes become very hard simply because we don't have the right coach next to us. We don't have the
Hmm.
right mentor. We don't have the right advisor. We feel like we can put it together, which nothing wrong with that. We're trying to put the pieces together ourselves. And sometimes we can eliminate that learning curve by having the right partner or having
Hmm.
the right advisor or the right
Hmm.
consultant or the right mentor. And that's my philosophy. I've tried many different businesses, and now at my older age, I try to find people that already understand the business so that I can piggyback off of their education, off of their learning, and eliminate that learning curve that will cost me dearly at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And when agents get into this business, like you said, they're attracted to the cars, the nice houses, the vacations, and they literally think it's going to be easy.
Yes.
It's just going to be like, a warm knife through butter. It's going to be done and it's going to be so amazing. And then they get that first transaction and your borrower's ghosting you and the seller, is putting their head in the sand, ignoring all repair requests because there's nothing wrong with their house, right? It just goes crazy, right?
Yes.
And someone like you comes alongside and said, "Hey, Junior, this is fine." You know, this is par for the
Yes.
course. And they look at you and like, every deal is this hard? And you're like, oh no, this one's easy, right?
Right. Right.
Compared to what it's really like. Um,
Yes. Yes. And I think just it's human nature, I think, in our industry that there is a lot of, I don't even know how to say the word, but you just got to be able to give yourself a chance to trust people.
mhm, mhm,
Right. And then I think sometimes that's very difficult for
mhm.
us as individuals to trust some people in our business. And I totally understand that. I completely
Sure.
understand that. But I think we do have to give ourselves that opportunity to at least check with other people to make sure we're not having these mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you got time, I'll quickly share another one. That's a
Yeah. Let's go.
huge story with you. We purchased a 400 unit apartment complex in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a deal that was brought to me by a friend. I negotiate with the seller to carry the note on that purchase. We purchased the property, and we ended up walking away at the closing table with a check in our hands. Right. So we didn't bring any money to the table. We actually carried a check out. We were gonna, well, I shouldn't say we were. We flew out. By that time, we had already done a few flips. We flew our team out there. We got them a house. Our plan was going to be there for about 24 months, rehab the 400 units, and sail into the sunset, as they say,
Yeah.
because that was going to be our retirement. We go to a couple lenders. We get two $5 million loans, to which we had to put some money into escrow as collateral for these loans, totaling close to about $1 million. Um, we're just waiting for funding. We got our guys already doing demo work with funds that we had put out there. I take a vacation to Mexico, and I'm traveling from the airport to my family's home when I get a call from my attorney, and he's like, "Hey, the money that you guys put into escrow in Michigan is no longer in the account. The bank has disappeared. You have no loan. You have no deposit. I'm just letting you know because I was just contacted by another party that's dealing with the same bank, similar situation, and they just found out that pretty much this bank has disappeared." Um, we ended up losing that transaction. Well, we ended up selling it. Um, thank God, after a year and a few months. But we that was the biggest beater. That was the biggest loser we've had in a
Mm,
long time, and it took a long time to recover from that. And so I'm sitting at one of my kids' luncheons, and one of the parents was the head DA for Orange County at that time, and I was telling him the story, and he's like, "You're the perfect victim." And I'm like, "What do you mean I'm the perfect victim?" He's like, "You think you know what you're doing, and you do." He
mm.
goes, "But your brain is just checking stuff and checking boxes that you naturally know how to do, while all along you're being taken somewhere else." He goes,
Wow.
This guy that defrauded you is a he's very smart, and he knew what he was doing. He had you check all the boxes that you thought you needed to check, but you never checked a few other ones that you completely missed." And kind of goes back to the same story. You just got to keep having the right team around you to always be advising you. Um, it took about 5 years. This guy ended up getting caught. The CEO, they arrested him at his house in Martha's Vineyard. He defended himself, and he ended up defrauding about 30 of us for almost $80 million worth of funds.
Wow.
But that's another crazy story in our industry, that's happened in my lifetime. So, and I was the victim of that, along with my
Well,
partner.
yeah, I think a lot of people would just be crushed and with their tail between their legs, disappear quietly. Obviously, you pivoted
Yes.
and you
Oh yeah,
said,
100%.
I am not going away today. I'm not going away tomorrow. I'm going to fight on the third day. I'm going to keep coming back, right?
My partner said it best. He goes, "We could have paid a UCLA master's course in business, and we wouldn't have learned what we learned
Yeah.
through this
Yeah.
ordeal. He goes, so we better make something out of it now because we are fully vested in this.
Well, right, Juan, and that's such a great way to look at it. Okay. When you lose money either through fraud or a deal that blows up because you made a mistake, right? You're the agent, you didn't foresee something. And those things happen, right? Deals blow up, we miss out on commissions, or you get that hot lead and you're too afraid to go door knock because you've never door knocked on a cold door before. And you're like, you didn't do it. And then 4 months later, they list with somebody else. And you're like, man, you add all that up, and we have a very expensive education that we've paid
Yes, we
for.
do.
You know,
Yes. Yeah.
you can't. I don't know any school that costs what you've paid to get your education one over
Correct.
$1 million, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, wow. Well, Juan, looking back over your time as a realtor, your time as an entrepreneur, if you could go back, the Juan now, how many years have you been in the business?
Ooh, like 25
Okay,
now.
so 25 years ago, a much younger, energetic Juan had just got his license, and like he doesn't know everything, but you know now. If you could go back and you could give words of wisdom and advice to that guy, what would you tell him today?
Oh, wow. Man, that's a tough question. uh, I would I would tell the younger me to find the right partner, the right mentor in the industry, and to whoever that is, and have faith in what's being told and do the actions that I'm being told that I need to do.
Mm,
Follow the game plan that's being suggested. Um, I would continue to tell myself to continue to work hard, have faith in what I believe in,
hmm.
and have faith that I'm on this path because that's the path that I'm being put on.
Yeah,
Um, and just work hard.
yeah. Well,
That's
and you believe in God, and God, the divine nature, God of heaven and earth, right? And he, I would, you and I would both call ourselves Christians, and so I think it's fair to say you have to have faith not only in the people that you partner with, and that there's this path that God has us on, but we do have to have faith that God has a plan in it all, the good and the bad. Would you say?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And like I said, many of times where we've had bad experiences is okay. God's hand is in this. I'm just not there yet to understand it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But there is always a reason. And somebody somewhere it's mentioned, today's bad moments are tomorrow's greatest memories, and I
Hmm.
think that's easier said than done because how do you cope with a bad situation currently? But in retrospect, we grow into understanding.
Hmm.
Oh, that's why that happened. And
Hmm.
so having faith is definitely very key in anything, but especially in our business, right? Because there's so many unknowns, and we're going to be faced with so many challenges that are
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
not even real estate related, but
Hmm.
they're in our business. And you got to have faith, that things
Yeah.
are always going to be better and they're always going to be good.
Yeah. And I agree with you. 100%. You look back, and I always say you can't have peaks without valleys.
Yes.
A mountain is
Yeah.
there because there are valleys. And when you're in that valley, there's only one way to go, which is up, and when you're at that peak, the reality is sometimes the only way to go is down. You're going to go through something again that's going to create another valley that gets you to another peak that allows you to look back. And we all know this to be true. The best views come from the top of the mountains.
Yes.
And so you get to look back and think, wow, okay, God, you had a plan and all that. So,
Yes. And if I could add to that
yeah,
analogy
please.
that you have is I same thing. I don't know where I read this, heard it or something, but it said, you know what? Being successful and being at top of that peak, if you're there alone, it's a very lonely place, even though it's a very high peak. So bring people with you. people that you enjoy working with, people that you love spending time with, because it's otherwise, if you're stepping on people on the way to that peak,
Mhm.
it's a very lonely peak if you're up there by yourself. And I'm a true believer of that. I try to remind myself of that always. Is we got to help each other out
Mhm.
because we've got to be able to enjoy the fruit of whatever we succeed in with our friends and our family and people that we meet along the way.
Awesome. Well, Juan, I know that I certainly have been blessed and been challenged and encouraged by our time here today. And I'm hoping that those that have been listening in into our conversation have felt the same way. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Juan, what is the best way that they can do that?
Um, I'm a phone call away to anybody for any type of for whatever, right? It's
Uh-huh.
714-720-9342 is my cell phone number. On Instagram, my handle is Juan Corona underscore the number one, Juan Corona underscore one on Instagram. Or you can look me up at juancorona.com. All my contact information is there.
Awesome. And we'll also put that in our show notes. Juan, thanks for being here today. We appreciate your storytelling, sharing with us the history that you've been through. Uh, and we look forward to seeing you succeed continually as you get back up every day to go win that fight.
Thank you, Aaron. It was a pleasure to be here. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you for making this easier than what I thought.
I told you, you did great. Hey, thanks for tuning in today, everybody. If you did find today's show helpful, like I asked at the beginning, would you please like and subscribe? And would you share this with your friends? Maybe share this with a new agent. And if you are looking for a mentor, you're looking for somebody to talk to, I think Juan is a great person for you to reach out to. Today, we talked about how to talk to people with Form, FORM. We talked about the fact that he just stuck to the game plan and didn't pivot. He talked about following the basics, having a mentor, pivoting during hard times, and then losing it all almost, and then coming back with a better plan, more diversity, and the ability to have other avenues of revenue in his business, as well as creating that ecosystem that he could control to help with his transactions. So, Juan was here today and appreciate his time. And again, I said, go check him out. And until next time, thank you for listening and God bless.